So you got to sit at the feet of God. I mean, I don't know if you're new here, but, let me just give you a little bit of my story. So back in maybe 2010, right, I got married to my children's father, and I was in the church, and I thought, I was doing what God called us to do. So I was living life according to the status quo, right? Like the traditional idea of life. And so, like, success, if you will, right? You get married, you have the kids, you get the get the White House with the picket fence, you join a church, like all these things, right? And so I did those things, and yet I still wasn't satisfied. And so I would later separate from my husband once I started feeling this fire in my bones. So maybe in 2012. And that year is very pivotal because if you remember, I don't know how young you are, but that was the year where everybody thought the world was gonna, like there was supposed to be some big old, ending, right? And so anyways, it was the end of an age, but that was really when I started questioning things, right? So that was also, my relationship with God. Though I was going to church and all this other stuff, like I just started to question Jesus, especially after I separated from my ex-husband, because I was thinking that, my life was supposed to get better once I joined church. I thought my life was supposed to get better once I joined church. And I didn't realize that it's just church. That didn't necessarily mean that I had a relationship with God. And so whenever I started to kind of see the dissolution of my the dissolution of my marriage, it was really about me being uncomfortable. I can't say that there was anything that was changing in my marriage. It was that I was changing, and my marriage was not growing with me. So I started, like I said, questioning things. And I also wanted to break the status quo. So like I cut my hair off, I chopped my hair off, I dyed it blonde. I was just trying to find a way to express myself, but I didn't even really know what I was expressing. I would end up leaving my husband, right? And then going all the way to Portland, Oregon. Just again, I don't know what I was looking for, but I felt within my spirit that I wanted to write. So at that time, I was like, I want to blog. I started a blog and a vlog. A YouTube vlog or whatever, and that's what I felt in my spirit, right? I want to write. But if you know anything about writing, you don't make the coins up front. And that's just with anything. You get what I'm saying? If you're going into anything that's, say, a passion or whatever, you may not see the money at first. You're going to have to serve before the money comes. And it's not instant gratification. So I would learn very quickly, like, I'm not going to make any money with this, right? And I have children, so they were younger at that point, and it was like, I need to, put this on the back burner because this isn't profitable. And yet here I am, more than a decade later, I'm an author. I've written my first book. I did start a new blog, after I'd written my book. I still have my YouTube, so on and so forth. So it wasn't that I was off. It wasn't that I was off point when I came online. I had an inkling of what I wanted to do, but stay with me. That inkling of purpose was God directing me, but because at that point I was so brokenhearted. I thought that marriage and, getting married and joining church and all these things would change my life. And I'm kind of starting to sound like Justin Bieber. You get what I'm saying? Like, I thought those things would change my life, and it didn't. There were still some things that I needed to address, and I wasn't aware of these things. There was still bitterness and scorn in my heart, especially concerning my father, and I wasn't aware of all these things. And so like I said, when I came online in 2012 and I started to question a lot of things, Jesus was one of the first things I started to question. I'm like, I don't really know if I believe in this Jesus guy, because I went to church. You know what I'm saying? I'm serving in the church. My children even go to a Christian development school, and I'm contributing. So it's not even just like, I show up on Sundays and Wednesdays, but like I'm really contributing to the efforts of the church. And yet it wasn't, I didn't have a relationship with Jesus Christ. I only had a relationship with the church. So I was upset that my relationship with the church wasn't yielding the fruit in my life. You get what I'm saying? And so I determined that that was Jesus's fault, because the whole purpose was, you know what I'm saying, this is Jesus, but the church is not Jesus, babe, right? So he was the first person that I was just like, yeah, I don't really know if I believe in Jesus. And that's when I started going down the rabbit hole. I wasn't an atheist because I still believed in God. It was just I tried to remove the middleman. You get what I'm saying? And Jesus literally says that he's the way, the truth, and the life. He says no man can get to the Father except through me. And so I was trying to take him out of the picture and go straight to God. And God sat me down and introduced me to his son. But before that, say coming to Christ, like I said, I got into New Age spirituality. I'm yoga certified. I played with tarot. I played with crystals. You know what I'm saying? I did these things. So that was a part of my path. You know what I'm saying? That was a part of my journey. And what I love about that is that God allowed me to go through that so I can understand spirituality, which is really the only way and the only reason why you could say that I know that, you know, the church doesn't know spirituality. You get what I'm saying? Like literally, the church is carnal minded, and that's so perverse because it's supposed to be the church, right? But the church isn't necessarily the bride of Christ. You are the church. I am the church. We are a church. You don't have to go to a building because you are the building. And it's about building relationship with God. So God snatched me up into 2020 is when he really started tugging on my collar, like, yeah, you finna, you know what I'm saying? Your time is coming. And at that time, you know, I was an entrepreneur. I just left the yoga studio and working like a corporate job. And I was back in my entrepreneur bag, and I was doing my fitness videos. I was on Instagram. I wasn't writing, okay, but I felt in my spirit that I wanted to do workshops. So I'm like, okay, I need to put together a workbook for this workshop. So I knew that I had a workbook in me, right? So God called me to LA, okay? And this was his way of helping me detach from the familiar, and I would have to lean strictly on him, okay? And that just changed everything for me. That changed my whole entire life. So the way I thought that the church was supposed to change my life, the way I thought that getting married would change my life, which is again why I'm speaking to you guys about not, you know, idolizing marriage. You feel me? It's like I thought those two things were supposed to change my life, and it didn't. My life didn't change until I met Jesus Christ. So there's your story. And during that process, like I said, once he brought me back from California, once he brought me back from LA, he made me sit down and I had to write that workbook. So you can click the link in my bio if you're interested, but I do a daily read and you can catch that too. And it's definitely helping, you know, the purpose is to help you tap into your purpose. But that requires you to do some healing and to address some things, right? You're going to have to face the man in the mirror. You're going to have to confront, you know, your fears. You're going to have to face yourself. And that's the spiritual aspect of it that we speak about in terms of, say, shadow work. Because, you know, when I speak about the church being carnal, that's one of the main things they don't want to do. They don't want to face themselves. They're two eyes. They have eyes, but they do not see, ears, but they do not hear, but not you. So yeah, stick around. Maybe you'll like it here, you know?